for the very exciting first drive of my Lamborghini. I want to start this video with something that's actually changed my life. I know that sounds very dramatic, but the C-Tech CS3, which many of you will have seen in my Instagram stories recently, is now live, it is now launched, and it is about to change my life. The CS3 is the world's first fully portable battery charger and maintainer. It's got adaptive boost to get your flat battery going quickly and safely without the need for mains power. The crucial thing is you do not need mains power with the CS3. You can get your flat battery going with only 15 minutes of charge. So effectively what you do is you charge this thing up. It takes an hour. Now you can connect it to mains by USB-C and charge it up within an hour, or you can connect it to even a solar panel or even a service battery as well. This is the pack. What you do, you keep it fully charged and you put it inside your car. You drive around with this thing and you've got something that can charge your battery enough to get going in 15 minutes. The power will sit in that for up to a year, and I'm literally gonna have one of these in every single one of my cars. You can take it with you, you can plug your devices into it as well. So crucial for me when I'm out and about filming, I've got a huge power pack. I can plug my laptop in, my cameras in, my phone in, whatever it is. So that is a crucial piece of kit for me. And it means, because not all my cars are plugged into trickle chargers all of the time, logistics in London means that, you know, I need 10 parking spaces, but not all 10 have power. I do have to juggle my cars around sometimes for fear of them going flat, but now I'm gonna care less about that, and it's just gonna mean that I'm slightly less panicked about it, knowing that if all else fails and I do let one go flat, I've now got that. So that is really, really, really crucial for me. I know I sound more excited than I should be about a battery charger, but that is absolutely key. And there have been boost packs in the past that you can plug your car into, but I've never fully trusted them. This you can plug in and it won't fry your electrics. So amazing bit of kit. Well done, C-Tech. I've been nagging them for a year or so, asking them if they're going to bring one of these out, because this is exactly what I needed, and it's here. So they are now available. I'll leave a link to go and get them, but there's accessories as well. There's all sorts of accessories you can get. You can even wall mount it. Loads of bits and bobs. A little pouch to keep in your car so it doesn't rattle around, and of course your solar panel there. It's a big old boy, but if you're going camping or something, you're literally in the middle of the woods and you don't want things to go flat, that is key. So there we go. I would recommend anyone with a car get one of these, charge it up, stick it in your car, and thank me later. Anyway, for now, let's get on with the video. It's the first drive of my Lamborghini Huracan rear-wheel drive, and we've got some surprises in store, so let's go. Welcome back to CGTV, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive. I thought it was about time I got this thing out on some country roads and went for a hoon. So we're going to jump in, we're going to go for a blast. I'm going to give you my initial ownership impressions of this car. You've seen the spec, I've walked around it 1,000,001 times, so we're not going to go into that. We're literally just going to jump in and go for a blast. There's going to be as little waffle as possible. Let's get in here then, fire her up. Get the side lights off, we had them on for filming. Lovely bit of B-roll. Let's go then. Strada's a little bit boring, we'll put it in sport. Ooh, actually the difference is quite marked. Strada. Ooh, right, let's go then. Let's go then. Current conditions are about 1 degree, so I need to be a little bit less stupid. Otherwise, this video is going to be about 2 minutes and it's going to end in a crash. So, most of you will know I've had this car for probably about a month or so. There was a little debacle where I had to go straight back to the dealership after collecting it. Glad I washed it. And this is my first opportunity to actually drive this thing out on some twisty roads.
don't behave myself. So this, I'm gonna get the window up, that is just havoc. This then is the Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive. This thing actually has slightly less brake horsepower than its four-wheel drive cousin, but it weighs a little bit less. It doesn't have clever four-wheel steering. It is a raw, back to basics, V10 with a dual clutch. It's absolutely berserk, and oh, we've nearly had an off already. So you don't have the fancy four-wheel steer, the four-wheel drive systems that you get in the standard Huracan. You've literally got back to basics, big fat, naturally aspirated, 600 odd brake horsepower, V10, right behind your ears, mated to an incredible dual clutch gearbox. It really is back to basics Lamborghini, but I think this car has absolutely cracked it. This is the cheapest Huracan you can get. Spec'd, you can actually get these to about 180 odd K, whereas the four-wheel drive cousin, or its brother even, is about 200 odd K. There's about 30 grand difference in it. Yes, you lose a bit of power, but you do gain a little bit of weight and a dash of sterilization as well with it. But with this, you feel really, really at one with the car. Alarmingly so, to be honest, because you're just left with your ability and this brutal thing underneath your buttocks. Now, curiously for this car, you can actually get it with steel brakes. It comes as standard with steels on it, and you can actually option ceramic brakes as well. I would, of course, option ceramic brakes. This does 200 and God knows what miles an hour, 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. You need ceramic brakes. Just option the ceramic brakes. They're about 1,800 quid, and they really are a must in this car. I don't think resale-wise, this is going to be good news with steel brakes. And indeed, the four-wheel drive version, the Dash 4, doesn't come with steels at all. You just can't option them at all. So definitely go for the ceramics in this. So far, so good. It doesn't feel like they need that much warming up. They feel pretty reliable. They feel quite progressive, and thank God they work. I must admit, I said I wasn't going to get any more Lamborghinis. I said after my SV, that's that. I am done with the brand. They're not doing anything that I'm interested in. I've of course had a load of them. I've had an Aventador S, sort of had a Performante, but didn't really have it at all. I palmed it off from Tony. I had an LP 580-2, the predecessor to this car, and of course I had an Aventador SV as well. So I'm quite well versed in Lambos. I've had a few, but I felt after my SV that I wasn't going to get another one. I said to myself, I'm kind of done with it. I'm not really sure what they're bringing out now. I can't be bothered with the SVJ. I just think it looks awful. I think it's actually a backward step from the SV in every other way other than rounder track, lap time stuff, which nobody cares about if they're buying an Aventador. Nobody cares about track times buying an Aventador, so I just thought, sod that, I'm not in for it. It's about 400 grand, not interested. Then along came the Huracan Evo Dash 4, which piqued my interest a little bit, but I thought, you know, it's just a facelift Huracan. I'm not interested. Lambo, you're gonna have to do better than that. And then along came the Evo rear-wheel drive, which was, as I've said before, a pared back version of the revitalized Huracan, with all the little bits and bobs I didn't like about my LP 580-2 rectified. So you've even got these new carbon buckets, which are fantastic. They're adjustable as well. They're not the fixed buckets you get in the SV. They are brilliant seats. They're not heated or any of that stuff, but they are full carbon backed, and they've got this carbon nonsense here as well. They remind me of the 918 seats, the fixed buckets you can get with Porsche, but with an adjustable element and obviously a Lambo badge in it. So big thumbs up for these seats. Again, these are an optional upgrade. I think they're about 4 grand to spec these, and a lot of the sort of stock cars I've seen coming out don't have these on them. So again, it's going to be a bone of contention coming to sell whether or not these cars have the fixed buckets in them. They're going to be quite spec elastic. This road surface here is terrible, and the thing's just lapping it up. It doesn't have any clever magneto ride suspension, magic carpet, whatever it's called. It doesn't have any of that jazz. They're just basic springs, basic damping, and it's lapping it up really well. Sometimes with these things, you know, I think less is more, and this car very definitely is a case for that. Bang for buck wise, this eats most things alive. I am hugely impressed by this car. This thing is 992 Turbo S money. I paid 185, 184, something like that. And there are 992 Turbo S's knocking around for more than that, which is absolutely bonkers, particularly on the resale market now. And indeed, my Turbo S was 178, so this is slightly more. But I mean, Christ, it's a Lambo. So bugbears they fixed then in the previous car. They have fixed the infotainment system. It is now a proper car. It now works. You can listen to your music. You've got CarPlay, Android Auto, whatever it is you want. They fixed all that stuff in it. The seats are better. You don't have to choose between having a sofa or something that's going to need you spending 6 months in A&E. You've got something that's halfway house between the two. Suits the agile kind of raw nature of the car, but without ruining your life. Hats off to Lambo. They've also managed, and I don't know how they've done it, legally or not, they've also managed to keep the noise. Listen to this. With all the cars at the moment getting OPF filters, every single car sounds like a Hoover these days because of all the regulations and whatever, OPF filters, but Lambo's somehow still getting away with it. This car seems louder than a stock Performante. I don't understand it, and they've done that with the SVJ as well. The SVJ is noisy as hell. The Aventador S was noisier than the SV. I don't understand. But anyway, however they've done it, well done to you, Lambo, because it sounds absolutely ludicrous still. There's not even really any need for a aftermarket exhaust, albeit this being YouTube, I'll probably end up doing it and ruining the car. Can you use this thing around town? Well, yeah, actually you can. You put it in Strada mode now, put the window down. It's quite pleasant. Going around a little tight roundabout here, let's test the turning circle. Sorry, just a YouTuber, nothing to... no, we have ruined that. We're doing a reverse on a roundabout here, ladies and gents. I do apologise to everyone involved. Apologise to anyone in the vicinity. Sorry, just a YouTuber, it's fine. So around town, turning circle as we've just shown, isn't that great? But around town it's got lift, you've got all the kind of pleasant everyday amenities you'd expect from a normal car. It is very livable with, and in Strada mode like now, it's relatively quiet. I would go as far to say as you can actually daily this car. It's not that big either. You can see out of everywhere. You know where each corner of the car is, unlike the Aventador, which you've got absolutely no idea what's happening behind you here. It's just everything's causing carnage. It's good news. The infotainment system, it is really good. It's obviously still not as good as you'd get in a Porsche or an Audi, albeit it is Audi. The one main thing that I mentioned before about this infotainment system, there is no dial to turn it up and down. As I was told by thousands of you before, in my previous video with this car, you have to kind of swipe it with your 2 fingers, you drag it down the screen to get the volume up, and then you drag it again to go up and down. So it's a little bit of a procedure, and it doesn't work on the button every single time. But other than that, they're all minor quibbles, because at the end of the day, it does this. That gearbox, it is so good. Do you know what? Even with lift up, the front doesn't really bottom out as often as you'd think it would. It's scary though, being rear wheel drive and being sort of 1 degree outside, if that. I mean, I've got the temperature warning up on the dash now. It is a bit scary. We've got cold tyres, there's no way of getting temp into them, you know, on public roads. Woo! Can we see that? 4 litre GT3 RS. Oh, lovely, lovely stuff. Do you know what? This has reinstalled my faith, not just in Lambo, but in new cars. There are still some new cars out there that are good and exciting and naturally aspirated and don't sound like hell. Ferrari, take note. It's still possible. It's still happening across the road from you. I will never get bored of that noise. V10 is just... Now, being sensible for a minute then, should you buy one? You got 150, 200 grand to spend on a car, on finance, whatever, Charles and Dean, press up. Should you buy a Huracan Evo rear wheel drive? I actually think in this day and age, especially with Ferraris and McLarens, with everything plummeting in value, these things aren't a bad buy. They're not a bad buy at all. This spec came out to 185 grand. And yes, you can go nuts. You can start speccing silly carbon air vents and things that look like mosaics in the middle of the seats and lots of silliness everywhere, basically. You can go mental and quite easily end up at £200,000. But if you just treat this car for what it is, with a less is more, back to basics, raw, supercar, Lamborghini with a V10, and just buy it for the engine, spec these, spec some ceramics, spec lift, don't even go over the top on paint either, because Lambo will have you over a barrel for that as well. I think what you're left with for about 180k is something that really has its own little kind of market segment. Apart from the R8 V10 rear wheel drive, which is an incredible car, which is about 100 grand, I think this car operates in its own little kind of bracket. It's incredible, and I'm so pleased Lamborghini bothered with it. There aren't going to be many of these. A little birdie has told me that the STO production line is going to take over from the rear wheel drive production line. So unless you factory order one now, there aren't any dealer cars coming. There's no stock cars coming, and I know from a very good friend of mine, some of you know him as well, he's been trying to get one of these, and it's impossible. There are ready-made cars out there, but there's nothing in the right spec. So yeah, values-wise on these, when they start at kind of 185, 190, 195, and you're looking at the old ones, the LP580-2, at still 145k, you know, for a 5-year-old car with 10,000 miles in it, I don't think these have got far to fall at all. I think they're going to be pretty solid. If you don't buy a lemon spec, I think you probably should be okay with one of these. That's not me just trying to talk up the market. I'm well aware of the fact that I'm not going to make money on this car. It's not why I bought it. I bought it because I just thought it was stonking value for money. My friend Finn at Bristol Lamborghini got in touch. He said, we've just got this come in. It's a stock car. This was actually spec'd by Lamborghini, I think. I don't even think the dealership spec'd it. I think this was just a HQ spec car that came through. Some of them are awful, and this one I just lucked out. It's got the best combination of options versus cost. So I'm very, very happy, and I'm sorry for whatever I said in that video. I suspect I was probably rambling. It's all hands on deck in this thing. It's not quite as twitchy as the F12. The F12 is literally life and death every 5 seconds. You've got to be so careful in that car. The F12 does have wet mode though, which will save your bacon. This doesn't have it. You've literally just got Strada, which is basically comfort. You've got Sport, which is actually more slippy. It will allow the back to slide out. It's a little bit more scary, a little bit more fun. A lot louder. And then you've got Corsa, which is just as loud but slightly more grippy and slightly more track focused. So Corsa is really focusing on lap times. You've got a bit more grip, but Sport very definitely allows a bit more of a slide. And if you're in Sport and you whack your foot down, you haven't got full grip or you've got any lock on, the car will go on you. It's quite easy to catch. I mean, the evidence of that is the fact it's still in one piece. I've managed it. But yeah, it's a cracking drive. If you can try one of these out, then do. Oh no. Can we see that out there? What are the chances? Mr. Hamilton is here. I think on that note then, we're going to leave things there. Hope you enjoyed this little kind of hoon in my Huracan Evo rear wheel drive. Do check out the C-Tech CS3 that I mentioned at the start of this video. An absolutely crucial, life-saving piece of kit. And I'm absolutely over the moon that they've actually managed to do this. Incredible piece of kit. And it's personally something that I will be using and I will be having in every single one of my cars. So fantastic stuff. I will leave the link to go and check that out below. Thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Thumbs up and stay tuned for an SLS first try video very soon as well. Ciao for now. Stay safe. Bye.